So The Boys of Summer, I gotta preface this by saying I had the completely wrong impression. Have you guys ever picked up a book and been like, this is not what I thought was gonna happen? And it's by no fault. It is not Duggan's fault. It was my fault for interpreting the blurb wrong, which I hope I'm not the only person who does that. I thought it was about a girl who, on her summer holidays, meets these boys at not a restaurant, but it's a pub, which means different things to Americans than it does to Australians, because we have pubs, but they're more like bars, or maybe it's like a bar and grill kind of deal. For them, at least in this book, it's like a restaurant that has a hotel attached, but then there is more of a bar area in another part of the hotel slash restaurant slash pub. Anyways, so I just thought she meets these boys, and then there's the romance, which, like the Wishes series, it's another feel-good romance. This one, the first one, The Boys of Summer, is definitely more young adult. In comparison to the Wishes series, this one is definitely more adult, and its subsequent are definitely more new adult. She definitely gets more explicit as the books go on, so be warned. The book is actually about a young woman. She's 17. Her name is Tessa, and she, during the summer holidays, her friends talk her into getting a job as a waitress at the pub at the Onslow Hotel, and while there, she meets the Onslow boys. They nicknamed them the Onslow boys, and they're a good number of years older than Tess and her friends, but they do develop romances with these boys. So that was not where I saw it going. I still loved it, but it definitely took me a little bit to adjust, because I was like, this is not what I thought I was getting into. Like, where is this going? It is not fitting with the picture in my head. But it's all neither here nor there. It's just a funny little anecdote to tell you that I'm an idiot. That established, which probably isn't news to you if you've watched any of my reviews. The book is Tess. She starts out very meek, very mild. It's staying. And there we go. So she's meek, she's mild, and she suffers from a fair amount of bullying at the hands of her ex-boyfriend, Scott. He has sort of in jest nicknamed her Tic Tac Tess because she is not well endowed up top, at least according to him. I still don't have a clear picture as to how accurate that description was, but she, in the beginning of the book, it does deal with her feelings towards herself in regards to how he has made her feel and the impressions about herself that she has formed because of it. But she does not want to waitress. This is not the kind of job for her, but her friends convince her it's a great way to spend time together over the summer holidays, and it's just a great way to earn some pocket money, and it's going to be super fun. But then, next thing you know, so the friends are Adam and Ellie. And the next thing you know, Adam has broken his arm, and he did it doing something irresponsible, so he is sent to live with his grandmother, so he's out of the picture for the book, which leaves her with Ellie, who is boy crazy and has a bad reputation. You should know that she states that they all work because their personalities help them, but only as a trio. It's very difficult for her to spend too much time with one or the other. She needs them both for balance, but now she is stuck with, in my opinion, the worst of the two. I love Ellie. I think she's incredibly funny, but I would get worn out being her wingman as well. So we're kind of dealing with the Scott thing and with her trepidation towards being a waitress, and we are introduced to Toby, who is the love interest. So he is 5 years older than her, and she has been holding a torch for him for just as long. I would say yes, because I'm still fuzzy on how Australian schools work. It's not like us, where we have elementary, middle, high school. They go, like, basically primary school to upper school. So I think maybe upper school starts at like 7th grade. So she sees him on the day that they are brought to the upper school, and she's obsessed ever since. He has no clue who she is. He has graduated by the time she gets to upper school, so there's really nothing there, but she's been holding this torch for him. And then he appears, and she's like, what? But she makes an idiot out of herself because she's just endearing in that way. But on hers and Ellie's first day at the pub, she's not a very good waitress, which is not surprising, but she is tasked with bringing meals to the bar, which is like where they play pool, they listen to music. It's kind of the more mature area for the less mature group. You know, like the old men sit at the counter, you know, in the hotel, whereas the youngsters, the hip crowd, who are legal to drink, are in the bar, well, that's called a pool room. So anyway, so she's tasked with delivering these meals to the pool room, and this is where she really has her first encounter with the Onslow boys, who are nicknamed as such because they are a group of friends that are basically always together, and they're at the Onslow Hotel in the city of Onslow, so they're nicknamed the Onslow Boys by Ellie. On this first day, it is like a promotion day for Guinness, so she's forced to wear an outfit that she wouldn't normally wear, but she calls it a cat suit, which I don't know what cat suit means to Australians. I'm assuming she's wearing, she calls them leggings, so we'll go with our idea of leggings. So she's wearing leggings and like a tighter fitting shirt for Guinness, and it, I guess, shows off her form in a way that she's not comfortable with, but, and though it's not risque and unrevealing or revealing, it does kind of capture these, not adolescent, these 20-something-year-old guys' attention. So she runs into Toby for the second time in almost as many days, and it's like, is there something there? So that starts pretty soon-ish, because he does have a girlfriend. But yeah, so quickly, Chris, who is Adam's brother, because the Onslow Hotel is owned by their uncle, but Chris, who is part of this gang of Onslow boys, he's like, and he runs everything, he's like, you need to go to the kitchen and do dishes, because you're a terrible waitress. So she's basically relegated to that, and she's ruining her life, because she's like, why did I do this? And over the course of time, so Ellie begins a relationship with one of the boys, and his name is Stan, and in her pursuit of that, Tessa begins spending more time with the boys, and of course her crush on Toby grows. But the problem is he does have a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is gorgeous, as beautiful as everything Tessa is not. But, you know, by spending this time with these boys, she begins to grow into herself. She has those confrontations with her ex-boyfriend, and then Toby and his girlfriend break up. He then kind of pursues her, and then they start something which is very rocky and unsure, and then things go wrong, and then things are good, and then things are wrong, and then in the end it all works out. The end. My problem with the romance, which maybe because I'm in my 30s and I'm a bit wiser and more realistic when it comes to this stuff, is like, maybe she also does it this way because that is the way to a teenage girl's heart. So Toby and Angela have broken up, right? And they're at this party, and he approaches her in a dark corner, and they share a magnificent kiss, and then he just walks away. And of course, she's ecstatic, because she's 17. But then nothing happens. He never speaks to her. He never alludes to it. Like, so I'm thinking this is totally high school, which it would be okay if he were in high school too, but he's 22, meaning he's graduated, or he's of the age to have graduated from college. He did not graduate because he went into the family business. He's a mechanic. that doesn't really matter to me. But it's the fact that he is old enough and mature, hopefully, enough to have graduated from college and to not treat girls like an adolescent boy. So it this is what kind of happens in the beginning of their romance, is there's very little communication. There's a lot of physicality, which keeps girls going. But I'm just like, why? She doesn't even have his phone number. Why does, if he likes her so much, like, why does he just keep leaving her hanging? At one point, Ellie is like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, so just stay away from him. Don't do anything with our group of friends, and he'll come to you, and he never does. So then she approaches him, and for me, I'm like, if he likes me, he will come after me. I am not going to chase. So maybe, again, my problem is just a personal issue rather than a writing issue. Again, it's a good thing because it's got me passionate about what's going on. Yeah, my problem is, like, get his phone number. Like, just because he kisses you in a dark alley does not mean anything. Like, you want it to mean something, but if he never talks to you for, like, days, what does that say? Especially since he just broke up with his girlfriend. So there's all this miscommunication, and then problems happen because of it. And I'm like, so, spoiler alert, so she sleeps with him. She loses her virginity to him. She still doesn't have his phone number. I mean, like, that's a big deal. That's a big thing to give to a boy. And yet you don't even have their phone number. Like, you have no kind of commitment. And this is not a drunken romp, right? This is not somebody you've met at a bar and you've had far too many vodka tonics with, or far too many margaritas in my case, and then you went home with him and had a one-night stand. No, this is someone that she has loved for like 5 years and who she feels like she has a connection with, and she doesn't have his phone number. She's going to give it up without any reassurance of anything to happen, any stability. And maybe it's just me. Maybe these are my views on relationships. You could be like, girl, she didn't have to have his number to sleep with him. It's her choice. Yes, it is her choice, but the kind of character that Tess is, I feel like it's out of character. My other, and this is really small, this book takes place in early to mid-90s, and what I really love is that it has a timeless feel to it. You do not feel like it's a period novel, but correct me if I'm wrong. We did not have texting in the early to mid-90s. We barely had cell phones in the early to mid-90s. So I would actually love to talk to Duggan and be like, because she's older than me, probably 5 to 10 years older than me. So I'm sure she knows a whole lot more about that time period than I did, because I was still like riding a bike going, like ding ding with my little bell, and I was just like, how can they be texting each other when I don't think we had text messages? So like with the Wishes series, what I think is most successful, makes this book so successful, is its realism, how real the characters in the situations feel. And then she hits me with text messaging, and I'm like, don't think so. Maybe pagers, but not text messaging, unless Australia was much more advanced technologically. If you're from Australia, let me know. Because I got my cell phone when I was 16, and I remember my parents were so strict about text messages because we did not have unlimited text messages. You could do like 20 texts a month, and then they would start charging you out the wazoo. And when you're 16, you're like, I drive, maybe I'm dating, I have a social life. So of course I'm over texting. I just remember texting was a new thing, because when my cousin was a couple years older than me, her thing, she had a pager. All I wanted was a pager, never got a pager. But so even just a few years before me, it was all about pagers. So how could these kids have text messages? It works for the story. I feel like the story couldn't have been told without some of that stuff, but my persnickety brain is like, are you forgetting what we did and didn't have at certain periods in certain eras? I thought, unlike with the Wishes series, where I wasn't always convinced that Charlie was acting in character, Tess never broke character. Like, I felt she acted exactly how she should act, and I thought her progression, her development was on point. Just like with Charlie and Adam, I really wish that Tess and Toby were real people and that I could date Toby, which is funny considering he's kind of like the strong and silent type. I'm maybe more attracted to the idea of him because that's more of what you get. He does not have a lot of lines. Like, there is, there's the obvious, like, hello, how are you? What are you doing today? They were out on the boat one time and they were joking around about stuff, and then her bike had broken down and he came across her and he gave her a lift home. And, there were certain instances where they did interact, but for the majority of the novel, we didn't get, like, heartfelt conversation from him. So, I guess it's like having a crush on a celebrity where you don't really know who they are, but you have this impression of them, and so you think they must be this fabulous person. Of course, it doesn't hurt that they're gorgeous, but I loved Ellie. I really like what Duggan does with her later. But as I said, this is 3 books, a 3-book anthology. Plus, there's one more book that goes with this. And out of all those characters, Tessa remains my favorite. I don't know if it's because she's the first one that I was introduced to, but she just has stuck with me, and she's someone that I could see as a friend, and that is super successful writing, in my opinion. Someone that you connect with and that you wish was real, someone that you could see in your life. So that's probably why I hated the Cruel Prince and Wicked King so much, because I could not get that out of Jude. Aside from the fact that Jude was not an active protagonist. So the thing with Tessa, on that note, is as shy and as timid as she was, she did not let things happen to her. Ellie did a lot to bring events to her, but Tess, she managed her own life as well. Like, she managed to take events and face them head on and to run with them and to make her own decisions and do things that furthered the plot in ways that characters like Jude, I feel like, didn't. They just accepted what happened to them and they did something in reaction to that, but it was always just a reaction versus an action. We do get a little bit of Tess in the next book, and we definitely get not a lot, but some Tess in the 4th book. Because the next book takes place 3 years later, and then the book after that, or the 4th book, I think is like a couple years more after that. So there's like 5 to 10 years that we're missing Tess, and I'm like, what was Tess doing? I know what you told us she was doing, but I want to see it. So this is definitely a book I couldn't put down. As I said, I probably read it twice a year, which does not say a lot for the fact that I can't remember certain characters' names, but you know what? There's not a whole lot of space left up in here. So sometimes if you catch me on a good day, it's like early onset Alzheimer's. Sometimes I'll remember details and sometimes I won't. This is the book that I would take to the beach because it's a great beach read. It makes me feel like I'm in the heat of summer. It makes me want to get a summer job at a pub and meet a cute boy. It just makes me want to have a summer romance. If you have any questions, I really kind of glazed over this plot because some plots have a lot of intricacies and some don't, and so the ones that I feel don't need to get a whole lot of in-depth in, I just don't, because I want to talk about other stuff. So if you have any questions or if you want me to give you more info, let me know. If you're a girl, anywhere from like 15 to 25 or even 35, since that is my next birthday, and you just want something easy and fun and sweet, something to take your mind off the stress of life, pick up The Boys of Summer, or the anthology that I got off Amazon, or go get it off Apple Books. I'm sure it's also on Kindle. I don't have Kindle, but this was another one of those that I got free for the first in the series, so it might still be free. But yeah, have a great day. Happy reading. Tootsies!